It's time for the big show with Andy Gallo and Country Jim.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Andy Gallo.
And I'm Country Jim.
And we've got our guest, Claude Wooley, with us. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
You bet, man. You bet.
We're just really honored to have you with us, Claude. I'd like for you to tell us a little bit about your journey as far as, I know that you were from the north side of Houston, and I've got several musician friends that talk about the fact they're from the north side. And I've heard you in conversation with some of them, and there's kind of a spiritual connection almost.
Brotherhood. Yeah.
Kind of a fellowship.
Tell us about that.
You know? Yeah.
Well, originally we grew up in Cashmere Gardens. And then from there we moved over to the north side. Actually, that was the northeast side, was Cashmere Gardens. And then we moved over off of Tidwell and like Aldine, Westfield, in that area. And that's where kind of my musical journey started there. I mean, it actually started with my mom in church. We all sang with her. You know, she was a gospel songwriter and plus sang traditional stuff. And then it kind of developed after that when we moved in my teen years. You know, we moved over on the north side. And then went to St. Houston High School, you know, so. The north side is a place that it's like, I like your word, fellowship. You know, we had a understanding between us to kind of have each other's back. You know, not to bother nobody, but you know, take care of yourself too. You know,
Right.
Yeah. So.
I had some musician friends that played with me that used to talk about playing the Cedar Lounge. Was that on Airline?
Airline, Louis York. I lived 6 blocks in there, actually.
And you played there?
I first started playing there with Joey Long, the great blues man.
Wow.
Played with him probably about 2 or 3 years, and then different places like Gin Mill, and then there was the Four Palms on the other side of town on Telephone Road, you know, and great blues man. But I had some great bands come in there that I put together for the owner there at the Cedar Lounge, you know. Would have Randy Cornor, Robbie Springfield would come in there, Freddie Pate, you know, Travis Smith, just a host of, you know, a host of people, you know. Great sound and stage, kind of a crazy place, but, you know, I put in some good trench time there, you know, which I'm sure a lot of us did.
I've been in there a time or two, never played there, but it was a small place.
Yeah. But great sound and stage. We did some live recordings there. It just was really exceptional, you know.
Well, let's continue on your journey. Then you started playing with some other bands, or when you were doing those gigs, what instrument were you playing?
Well, when I first started playing music, my mom, like I say, my mom played guitar. My dad would do the Hank Williams and Ernest Tubb and all those tunes on acoustic. And I started. Well, I think when I heard, I heard the Beatles on Ed Sullivan one night, and I go, no, actually I was playing drums before then, and then I wanted to play guitar when I saw the Beatles, you know. But drums was my first instrument. I only played maybe 2 gigs on that, and then I learned how to play guitar, mostly rhythm, a little bit of lead. But then we never could find a bass player. So one of my brothers said, hey, why don't you learn bass? You know, maybe you can. Mm-hmm. We never can find anybody, so I learned, and I've been working ever since. So it was a great decision, you know. Not made by me, actually, but I always loved bass, so it worked out good.
You know, when we play gigs together, you're playing a bass sometimes that looks like an antique, like it's been through the mills. What is that thing?
That's a Fender Jazz 73 body with a 59 precision neck on it.
Wow.
You know, and I put some different modifications on it, such as it's called a Badass Bridge, if I could say that.
Yeah.
And that's the name of it, actually. Mm-hmm. And it's got a couple of DiMarzio Hotspots pickups, which are give a little extra in the studio, you know. And
sound like something Johnny Cash would put together.
Yeah, well, you know, it will be. I named it Jezebel years ago, and it's going to be 50 years old next year. I'm going to name it. No, I named it Jezebel. I'm going to name it Jazabel next year and have a birthday party for her. You know, invite my bass player friends out.
Cool.
So tell me about.
Really, they'll come too, man.
Tell me about starting to write songs. You say your mama did that,
Yeah.
and so that kind of inspired you to do your own songwriting.
I never knew, I never did understand how it really started. I didn't know that much about it when I was young. You don't really conceive what's going on.
Yeah.
But I would hear these things in my head, and I would write poetry down, and I even wrote a little play one time that my sister and I kind of put together. And because when you start hearing these things in your head, you think everybody's hearing them. You don't really think that much about them.
Yeah.
And then when I see these other bands doing all these great tunes, I go, man, why does this happen? Why is this happening? And so my first song I wrote when I think I was 16, it was called "Chasing a Dream." That was the first one I ever wrote. And then I started playing with country bands, and I started writing country. I was kind of influenced a lot by whoever I played with. So when I started playing country and working a lot more than playing, rock or pop rock or whatever, which was my first love, but country, I fell in love with it, and I go, man, this is a great horse to ride, And that's when I got the most involved in the songwriting.
Andy asked me one time, and it was a tough question for me because he knows that I like a lot of different genres of music, and he asked me what was my favorite. So I'm going to throw that at you. I told him what I felt was my favorite was the one I was doing at the time. What would you say about that?
The great thing about living in Texas to me is there's so many different diverse, genres of music. There's country music, there's swing music, there's rock and roll, rhythm and blues, gospel. We even get some carryover from Louisiana,
Right.
And so I've learned to kind of digest it all, because if it was good to me, well, I don't care what genre it was, it was a good song.
Yeah.
And so that's what I kind of lean toward in my writing too. I don't go, well, I'm just going to stick with country. I'll write a rock and roll song, I'll write a Christian song,
Right.
So it's kind of like your answer, really. I hate to fall on your answer, but whatever I'm loving at the moment is kind of my favorite music,
Yeah.
Well, I know we're going to be playing a song off of some stuff that you brought us here, and this is a song that Randy Cornor had done.
Yes, sir.
And
Produced by A.V. Middlestead.
we were talking about AV the other day.
Yes.
We need to get him on
Yeah,
the show
he's
too.
one of my. Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah, because he produced
he's
a lot of people.
been a great musical mentor through my. First met him in the '60s. He had his studio and had it for years over on Jensen Drive.
Yep.
And he produced a. I was telling Randy used to come out to this club that I was working at. He'd leave some gig or something. He'd come by. It was a real hot club on the southwest part of town called Elijah's Club. And Randy would come in there. We got to be friends, And I said, "Hey, Randy," I got this tune, man, that will fit your style, And I said, "Man," "you're gonna sing it wrong, we'll do it for you, I said, "We do it live, So we got up there and played. He goes, "Man, I really like that." And that was "She's Not Sleeping Alone." He goes, "Man, you get me a copy and I'll get it to AV." And because Randy was like, the consummate, guitarist and singer and artist, great studio musician, played on literally thousands of stuff. And I got to play for a couple of years over there at AV's place, doing bass sessions. And so he played it for AV, and he said, "AV wants you to come by and wants to talk to you." And so I went by there and he goes, "Hey," he says, we want to cut that tune, And so we talked a little while, because he remembered and I remembered him, and they put it all together, and that did a great job. I mean, just excellent. I couldn't be happier. He had even had 3 members of the Houston Symphony playing violin on. You'll hear it on certain spots. Randy does this killer vocal.
Here I lay and try to sleep in this big old empty bed. I wish that she was with me now, but I'm all alone instead. I've got a good mind, call her on that telephone, but I'm so afraid that I will find she's not sleeping there alone. I've tossed and I've turned, every hour is a day. My imagination crucifies me every minute she's away. It's a battle in my mind to keep my hands off that telephone, 'cause I'm so afraid that I'll find she's not sleeping there alone. If I'd known she'd be gone so long, I'd have never let her leave. But this thing that burns inside, Lord, it just won't let me sleep. Oh, but it's funny now, as I wake up from a dream, I dry the tears from my eyes and find she's lying next to me. Now there's no reason to call her on that telephone. As I pull her close beside me, she's not sleeping there alone. As I pull her close beside me, she's not sleeping there alone.
And in fact, that was the first song that ever gave me some royalties. I made a little small royalty check, you know. And he wasn't really with a major label then. He was with AV, I think it was Cherry Records, I believe. But it started getting a lot of airplay, and I actually over in Louisiana and stuff, you know. So I call him, I go, hey man, I got the first royalty check. Let's go down to the pool and drink some beer and shoot some pool, man. He goes, all right.
Who else have you written for that?
Well, I've had my songs recorded by Kenny Dale. I've had Gene Thomas. He recorded one of mine. And I met Dottie West through that same song, actually. She's Not Sleeping Alone. She came into town, and a friend of mine she knew their keyboard player. They kind of saw each other when they come through town. And she goes, yeah. She goes, I said, I'll get you the tape, you know. And she goes, why don't you just come? We'll just, go out there and meet her. So we went up to her hotel room and played it for her, and she had the headphones on. She started singing along with it, and I'm going, oh, that's kind of cool, And then she got through. She goes, I love that song. I love your voice. And I go, well, I'm pitching songs is what I'm doing, So she gave me her address. And she goes, now put 3 stars on it. That way I know it'll come straight to me, and ain't got to go through all that stuff.
Right.
And so her and Shelley were going to cut one of mine called Hooray for Love. It's actually on that same CD. But something happened. They couldn't get their labels together, or maybe, who knows, maybe they lost interest or something,
Right.
But
Yeah.
she flew me to Nashville several times, and I'm always had me stay at her house. Really grand house. And she had actually 4-lane bowling alley down there.
Really?
The bottom floor.
Wow.
Beside a shooting range. Had a disco down there.
Oh, wow.
Man.
That was a party pad, let me tell you, man. But she flew me up there and another rider out of Houston to the first farm night ever in Champaign, Illinois. And flew me up there, and her sister picked us up in actually an antique black Cadillac. So we went back to her place in Franklin, Tennessee, and she took us. She goes, Carl, come out, I want to show you something. So we went outside, and she had these green tomatoes growing in her garden, She goes, we're going to have fried green tomatoes tonight. I go, man. And I said, you're right on, you know. So we ate, and then we got on the bus and went to Illinois, you know. And was there all day long backstage, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Who'd you meet there?
Oh, man. I got a bunch of pictures, too, I had to show you one day. But yeah. I met Glenn Campbell there, met B.B. King. He had his 50th birthday party cake there, you know, for all you B.B. King fans. And I met, let's see.
Christopherson, or you told me?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Actually, I met him. He came up to Dottie, and we were kind of going up the ramp up to the stage, and I heard, Dottie. She turned around and she goes, oh, Chris. They hugged each other, you know, everything. Got talking, and I started to walk on up. She goes, Claude, come here. She goes, this is a songwriter in Fix the Sound. She goes, he's an up-and-coming songwriter. I want you to meet him. I thought, wow, man, good to meet you, man.
Thanks for listening to The Big Show with Andy Gallo and Country Jim.
This has been a Unicap Media presentation.